pretty excited. We've got everything from a presentation from Chris Snyder here, which I'll introduce in a minute, on recreational sports, and he's with the USOC, all the way down to our last speaker of the day will be, and not that he's the least, but a doctor that's going to talk to us about a number of different injury issues in hockey. And I know that was a popular session last year, and I'm sure that'll be a popular session again this year. So, kicking things off this afternoon, I'd like to introduce Chris Snyder. He is the Director of Coaching for the U.S. Olympic Committee. His responsibilities include discovering and providing resources to enhance sport culture, help develop top coaches in high-performance pipeline, and aid the coaching program of the national governing bodies. Like USA Hockey, there's different national governing bodies for all the different sports. The reason that we brought Chris here today is not because he's the Director of Coaching at the Olympic Committee, although we love that. Chris is also involved in a project that the Aspen Institute is putting on called Project Play. And Project Play, I hope I don't steal a bunch of Chris's thunder. Project Play is a program that is being put together because they recognize that things are changing in the United States and kids just aren't getting as much physical literacy anymore as what they used to. So Project Play is looking into that. Just one statistic, and maybe Chris has got this in the slide, if so I probably stole his thunder. So only 40% of kids now between the ages of 6 and 12 regularly played in team sports. So compared to when I was growing up, that's way, way less. And even compared to a few years ago, that's down about 10% over the last 5 years. So that's a trend that they're working on reversing. So without further ado, hopefully Chris, I didn't steal too much of your thunder. I'm going to turn it over to Chris, and we'll get going.
All right, so I'll have to divert your eyes lower. I'm quite short. I was taller when I played goalie and was on skates back in the day. So I'm Chris Snyder. I'm the Director of Coaching and Coach Education at the Olympic Committee. I've been there for about 3.5 years. Before that, I was the Coaching Director for the sport of lacrosse for 3.5 years in Baltimore, Maryland. So I'm a coach. When people ask me what I do for a living, first thing I tell them, legitimately, my wife hates it, is, oh, I'm a lacrosse coach. And then I tell them I work at the Olympic Committee and other things I do. I still coach. I've been coaching for 13 years, coached 3 years of college, then switched over to high school. I'm a high school head coach in Colorado Springs. So I do a lot of coach speak. I try to tell it to you really realistic and how it impacts our athletes. I'm really athlete focused, and that's what I've brought to our coaching department over the last 3.5 years, to really get our coaches at the highest levels, all of our national teams, and anytime they give us a call, my job is to jump however high they want us to and do whatever they need us to do. I try to get them thinking about how they work with their athletes, how their athletes are going from, as Ken and I were talking earlier, how they go from being amazing national team athletes to Olympic champions. So what can we do to help? The other part of our job is to work with all 47 of the Olympic and Pan-American sports with their coaching programming. That pathway that comes up and feeds into the elite side, and we look at that pathway from an elite perspective, okay? A sport performance perspective. The reality is, it's a developmental pathway. We've got to build you into champions. We have to find all the latest and greatest info and research to make you be great. When we had an opportunity for our coaching department and all of USOC to be a part of this Aspen Project Play that I'll talk about, we had an opportunity to come into it and be a big leader in it. It was basically, hey, how do you guys play your role in the elite? When we came in, we said, it's not the elite we're worried about. It's that pathway. It's how do we develop 5, 6-year-olds into the best people they could be using sport? How do we maximize the potential in sport? How do we make sure every one of the 47 sports really utilizes that pathway for the benefit of the athletes, not the benefit of us at the very top? Because if we thought top down, we cut everybody under the sun who's stuck 6 years old. And that's not good for anybody. But if we thought about development, how do we make you better to maximize your potential and then identify those who are maxing out the highest levels and keep others involved in sports so sport becomes strong again? That's where we get started. So that's what I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about. I'm going to talk about the crisis in youth sport that really is happening now. This is across all sports, because that's my specialty, is all sports. I'm going to talk about how kids are not playing nowadays. We've got all the science and the research behind it. After we talk about this, I'm going to tell you what, at the Olympic Committee and with our 47 governing bodies, we decided that we want to do about it, how we're working together, and how long-term athlete development, ADM concepts, are basically making their way across every single sport right now. So the ADM that USA Hockey has out has actually been a driving force to influence many of the NGBs. I'll show you what they're doing. And then the last thing I want to talk about is kind of my call to action for all of us, is where through the information I'll show you from this report and through what all the different sports are doing, where you need to strike, which is really understanding early specialization, and then also understanding how as adults, kind of take the fun out of all this for our kids. And we really need to find a way to not adultify sport, because it's going to ruin our country as a whole. So, first thing I'll do, I'm going to play us a nice little video that really, hands down, explains the entire thing for you.
I probably would make a time machine. I would make medicine for the sick. I'd probably invent something new.
Well, why didn't you go? That's why you did it.
If I could have an extra 5 years to live, you said 5, right? 5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much. I would get more hamsters. I would probably want to go looking for dark matter. I think I'd go looking for aliens. If I could live an extra 5 years,
I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter. But I don't know any wood. I don't want to go take out the balloons on them.
I'd probably teach my sister not to hit tuna.
I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed.
If I had 5 more extra years to live,
I would be the boss of volunteer on this.
because I did nothing to do with it this soul. I don't really know. I think I'd do anything. Why are you asking me that?
So 3 years ago, I got to go to a room up in Aspen with the top of the top sports administrators, people from USA Hockey, people from a lot of other governing bodies, the NCAA, the High School Federation, Shape America, people from Professional Sport Manufacturers Association. The Aspen group got us all together in a room and showed us that video that was done by Design and Move, which is a branch off of Nike. That have done all the research on obesity and really some of the epidemics here in the States and across the world about how inactivity and obesity are ruining our future for our athletes, for our country, for mankind. 5 years less to live, that's what the research showed. Is that right now with our obesity rates where they're at, kids not utilizing physical activity, they'll die 5 years before their parents. That was shocking to all of us. And then we started diving into our part on the sports side of things to really make it a reality. We look at the issues that are really getting kids out of sport. And it's funny because we all sit there on those darn video games. Oh, they completely ruin it. Kids just want to sit in the video games. And then what we realized was playing video games because they don't have access to sport. They don't have the ability to stay in the sport. They're getting told they stink at about 11 and getting cut so that they quit. And video games are a lot easier. So we started making excuses. And what we had to realize is that it's not excuses that our country needs, it's not excuses that sport needs, it needs action. So that's when we started to act. And this is what the report that's in your hands really shows, and that's what I'm going to go through. So if you haven't grabbed a report from the back of the room, you can get it on the way out. I'm going to hit the highlights of this report and what our research showed. And when we stopped making excuses and started really diving into the info, this is what it told us. So first thing is this. Our current generation, like I said, 5 years less to live than their parents. We're finding that there's around a 40% inactivity rate in the United States. So by 2030, 46% around that's going to be obese. All right, we're going to have an obesity rate by far outshines everybody else. Other countries are having similar issues, but the obesity epidemic is really going to destroy our future of our country. Here's the other thing about sport, dropout. Why are kids dropping out? Is this really happening? Well, what we found is that 30 kids are dropping out between the ages of 6 and 12. Crazy thing is, over 50%, upwards of 60, 70% we found are dropping out at 13, 14 when they get into right about to go to high school. So dropout in sport is at an all-time high. And the last thing that the report showed in the research was 26% of athletes are quitting sport under the age of 12 due to poor coaching. That as a country, even though your efforts in hockey, you guys have one of the best coaching structures out there. Even though we've got some great sports doing a good job around getting you some great coaching education, it's not enough. And if you're doing a bad job at the lower levels, those kids will never get to the higher levels to get where we put most of our better coaching in the United States. We put our better coaching at the top. Other countries, you'll see, they put their better coaching in the middle to the bottom to get their kids up, learning the basics, learning the skills, getting the technical ability before tactical and winning becomes such a priority. So this is what the research showed us when we looked at it. So this is a model that you'll see inside the report that really starts showing how 2013 you can see the dropout in some of the major sports. So in basketball, down 3.9%, soccer down 10%, track and field down 13%. You go over to softball and football, they're down 30% number of kids playing. And a lot of those, when we started asking those sports why they think it, so like, well, we're all getting really excited about the viewership on TV. Everybody wants to be elite. Everybody wants to chase that college scholarship. So a lot of our youth coaches are starting to get down to one elite team, cut everybody else. So we're like, yeah, that's a problem. So then we look at our elite coaching pool, or our elite sport pool. This is where at the Olympic Committee we really had to take a hard look at ourselves. And this is what we found. Our American system is really professionalizing sport at the younger ages. That by cutting kids at 10 and 12, it's hurting our pool of Olympians at the top. And as we've done a bunch of research, we did research back in 1999 called the Path to Excellence. We surveyed all of our Olympians and we asked them how many sports were they playing, what were they playing, how old were they when they were playing sports, and how did they come on their path. And then that was all of our Olympians from the 1984 Olympics through the 1998 Olympics. We just redid that Path to Excellence survey for all the Olympians from 1998 through 2012. And we asked them what they were doing, what was the makeup, and every one of them was playing 3, almost 4 sports as they grew up. And then trickled down, they were playing, most of them played 2 sports up into college or using another sport as cross-training. It's funny, we're finding out the best athletes in the world are playing multiple sports for cross-training and their sports thinking as they grow up, but we're starting to push our kids around 12 to verbally commit, or 13 in my sport lacrosse. We're asking our kids to verbally commit to Hopkins when they're in 8th grade. You know, we're asking them to go sports-specific around 12 because they want that college scholarship. They're the best at playing 3, we're going to make them play 1. So that's a problem. That's not going to help us. The last thing is this crazy word that everybody's starting to use that I love, the adultification of sport. Yep, sports are organized by adults. Business adults love sport because you're dealing with your kid's future and your passion and your love of it, and we can make money off of it. By us as adults not thinking like kids, we're really taking a lot of the benefits out of it. So those are some of the major issues that we found at the elite pool of everything. And this was the broken model pyramid that's in there. Basically, in America, we think you go recreation, travel, high school, college, pro, that's how you do it. There's no other way to do it. That's how you do it in most sports. If you threw a hockey model up there, you might totally cut out that high school in there anymore. Go right to club all the way up, and maybe you play college, maybe you go juniors, and then come up pro. So we're confusing a lot of parents in the system. We're telling them if you don't follow one system, you kind of have it. So with the project, okay, they literally did 2 years of roundtables, 2 years of interviews with all these people, research done by the University of Florida and a bunch of other national organizations, and they came up with a report, came up with solutions to these issues. And they looked at it from a bunch of different areas. And I'm going to highlight those now. They came up with 8 key areas that if we fixed in the United States, that we could give our kids back those 5 years, as well as put a structure together that could completely kick butt. It would be a structure that would get more Americans playing sports, using that as an avenue to be healthy. We'd be a healthier country. You would have health rates or health costs come down, and we would just literally have a more efficient system for health, sport, and wellness, right? And that's going to help everybody. It's going to put more money into everybody's pocket who's coaching sports because you have more kids that want to play. So these are the 8 areas. They talked about, 1, you got to ask kids what they want. 2, you got to reintroduce the concept of free play, unorganized play. Okay? Literally pick up, stream pick up. 3, encourage sports sampling. How can kids use many different sports as they grow up to figure out what they're good at, what they like? All right? 4, in-town leagues. How do you make local leagues more available so you don't have to pay the big top dollar of travel leagues as a requirement? How can you start getting into it and figure it out if you like it? 5 is think small. How can you utilize the space that we have? And how can you utilize smaller spaces to develop athletes in a way that's appropriate to them? 6, design for development. How do we think development, not winning championships for 11 and 12-year-olds? The success is developing your athlete and giving them the skills to go to the next level and maximize their potential. Success is not every one of us in the room that coaches saying, I've got more wins than losses over my career. It's not hitting your 100th career win, your 200th career win. It's your kids becoming great people, loving the sport, going on to the next level. Or in 10 years, they're the ones calling you up saying, thanks so much for the positive impact, not hiding their head as they see you in the supermarket, not wanting to see you because, man, you're a jerk. All right? How do we go ahead and design how we do things to develop the athlete? 7 was train all coaches, and 8 was emphasize prevention, let's make it safe. So those are the key areas that they talked about in the report. I'm going to go through each of these areas and just give you the highlights of what they found in the study and what their solutions said. 1 was ask kids what they want. When you look at that screen, they literally asked them what the kids want, and really it came down to fun. All right? We literally interviewed, they did a survey of many, many, many athletes, and they want to have more fun. What more fun is, they want to be encouraged to try their best. All right? They want a coach that treats their players with respect. They all want to play. They want to get playing time. What they don't want, what's less fun, is when there's so much emphasis on winning. So 12 and under, if winning's the number one thing, kids don't think that's fun. All right? Playing in tournaments, that wasn't very fun. They didn't care about that. They cared about the socialization. Yeah, these things were important, normally to the parents telling them what answers to click on the screen they found out. Because they interviewed some of the parents as well when they did this case study. Winning was important to the parents, it wasn't to the kids. They cared about the social side. So this is what they started saying. So imagine if we actually asked the kids what they wanted in their youth leagues and how they liked about it, what was fun about practice. Imagine if we did surveys of that. That would make us better. So in the report, you'll see they came up with suggestions of how to actually change our system. And I'll highlight a couple of them in each of these areas for you. Last one was researchers need to create tools to evaluate programs based on factors like fun, diversity, participation, retention rates. Because if kids are having fun, they're going to come back. And just so you all know, if you want to rank, kids come back, that's more money you pop. The really smart business people in sport look at sport in 4-year quads. And they say, how can I keep that kid for 4 years? Can I get you to pay your rates for 4 years? That's my return on investment. It's not a short-term gain. So how do you have fun, love it, come back year after year? And how do I keep developing you so you come back? So that's what they're saying. Let's evaluate our programs, evaluate our coaching, let's evaluate our athletes, and keep them coming back year after year. If we do that and we ask the kids what they want, we'll be better coaches. And it's funny, I was telling Ken earlier, we run a program where we bring national team head coaches into a room in groups of 12. And over 2 years, we educate them in the most up-to-date information around coaching. So currently, we have the head women's volleyball coach, Karch Karai, who's in the room with 2 of our top gold medal winning ski and snowboard coaches, who they also have Michelle French, who's the head women's U20 soccer coach and assistant on the gold medal winning World Cup team. We've got them and plus 6 or 7 others in a room. And one of the top things we're talking about is retention. One of the top things that we're talking about is how do they have fun, and how do they make sure their national team athletes don't get burned out. And we're talking about evaluation tools that they use. And they're saying, wow, I could give these evaluation tools we're talking about, I could give these down to my pipeline, my U14s, my U12s. We give this to everybody in their club system. Yeah, they're universal. Just how do we actually ask the athlete what they want to do? So that was the first area. The second area they dove into was trying to reintroduce free play. And what are the barriers to free play? Literally getting kids to just go create. Because what's happened is we've structured the hell out of it. The parents want to drop you off for formal practice and pick you up. Going outside has become a little less safe. In the United States, where it's perceived as less safe, that pick-up play of go out till the lights come on has gone away in the U.S. But that's taken away from our sports ability. It's taken away from our kids wanting to play. So they found there were 4 key barriers that were keeping free play from happening. So one, there's a lot more single-parent families or double working families. So kids need to have places they can go play that are close and are safe. right? So let's take that into consideration. 2, the professionalism of parenthood. Parents are really afraid of making mistakes, so they're really trusting structured, organized play from trained coaches they can pay for as the way to do it, and keeping their kids out of free time just to figure it out and go out and play. So we need to fix that. 3 is the impact of testing mandates. Okay, federal laws promote academic skills and promote academics, and they're taking away physical education. So we got to figure out how we make physical education just as important as academics. And then the 4th thing is competition for college admission. Every single sport has this college scholarship craze. And I was telling Ken and Bob last night about my sport, lacrosse, we call it a cocktail scholarship. It's the parents that say, my son or daughter are going on the Division III full scholarship. And I say, well, they don't give athletic scholarships to Division III, everything's academic. They're like, oh yeah, he's getting that. It's because he's a good athlete. It's like, yeah, no, that's not the college. If you just saved all that money you spent on high-performance sport to go get that D3 scholarship, if you just would have studied and you saved that money, you could pay for college, you know? So that college craze is really impacting free play. We're trying to structure the multi-sport, we're trying to overstructure our kids. So we need to fix this. These are their ideas. Parks and recreation at the top, a lot more sandlot experiences, make those places safe. Schools, they really got to recommit to recess. Everybody in this room probably had a recess growing up. My brother's kids, my sister's kids, we have our first child on the way, and I know they will not get recess much more than until they're in 2nd or 3rd grade, and they cut that out in most of our schools in Colorado. So you got to have recess. Last thing is, with parents, they got to create safe spaces for kids to play. So when you're reintroducing free play, this is kind of what we need. I got this picture today. Today the hockey guys shine down on me. You can see the puck about to go through the grate, but it didn't. That was me growing up. I played pond hockey in Pennsylvania, played street hockey constantly, and that was an act of God. All right, we're all Catholic kids growing up in a small suburban community, and that was literally divine intervention. That's what we need more of. How do we get the kids to spontaneous play? Because that's going to help them stay in sports and want to play longer because it's fun, right? All right, 3, play. Encourage sports sampling. Big thing. How do we get them playing multi-sport? How do we get away from that fear that if they're hockey kids and you let them go play lacrosse and you're never going to get them back? Well, the reality is you'll get them back as long as they had fun playing hockey. They're going to come back. But they need a rest. I'll tell you what, from a performance standpoint, the number one thing we talk with our Olympians about is when you take a break and you transition out, you can still cross-train. You can still use other sports as fun things to go do. Most of them that live in Colorado Springs go mountain biking. They'll find skiing as an off-season kind of sport. They'll find whitewater rafting, kayaking as something they do in the off-season. But dude, it keeps you in shape. They have fun. Why don't we think about that for our youth athletes when it comes to sports sampling? Don't look at it as a negative thing. Look at it as a positive way. They cross-train. So get that mentality into people's minds. Some of the suggestions that they had for National Sports Organization is create model partnerships for after-school programs. Have your kids come in and play a lot of different sports. Another idea that we started to see in the business side, club programs that make a crap ton of money have started partnering with other club programs in different sports. In California, there's a soccer program that teamed up with a volleyball program, and the girls play soccer half the year, then volleyball half the year, and then over the summer, they pick kind of which one they like that they're going to train for performance. What they found is as the girls got older, some of them that wanted to play soccer were damn good at volleyball and not that great at soccer. So they could follow that volleyball pathway, and a couple of them started getting into the national program for volleyball. Others that were in volleyball loved soccer as a cross-training, it made them more agile. So they started doing some testing and figuring out this makes a better athlete by doing sports sampling. So how do organized sport organizations, national sport organizations team together to make those options be something that's more normal for people to use? Another thing is, again, in schools, we need to offer that physical education. Okay, let's make that something they can do, because in PE class, that's where I learned archery, and I learned that it's a horrible idea for me to ever be doing something I could shoot at a target. I was horrible at it, all right? But that's where a lot of us got sports sampling, is in that area. Another one, 4 was revitalize in-town leagues, and they put up here, now they didn't put hockey in here, but most of you know the demographic, but they showed that it's really expensive to play sports nowadays. Especially my sport of lacrosse, we were the highest at majority of the average income is over $100,000, 56% of the kids that play it are surveyed, their families are pretty wealthy. So how do we make it that everybody can have access to sport? You don't need to be rich. A great way of keeping costs down is keeping it local, keeping the travel down, and finding ways for you to play recreation local, and then travel as you get older, travel where it's really needed, not mandated that you travel for programming. So that was something they came up with, and that's in the idea section as well. Think small. This was the idea of using spaces to their maximum ability, and how do you go ahead and make it developmentally appropriate. Here's an example with tennis. The idea was, how do you get basically an entire gym class on a tennis court, have them all playing? Well, it's funny. U.S. tennis has followed a lot of the lead of USOC hockey and has come up with a small-sided games program that they pretty much mandate through all their clubs nowadays. Well, it's being self-mandated. They haven't had to even put it in. They're doing cross tennis. They have certain colored balls for cross tennis. Then you go to another small-sided tennis, and then you go up to the full court. There's 3 different size rackets, 3 different colored balls that all have different bounce heights. They made their game small, and what I'll show you in a minute is everybody else is following the trend with that. So anything small, and that comes in with some suggestions that are in your book as well. 6 was design for development, so this comes back to the ADM models. All the science is saying, this is the way to go. Every other sport out there is coming up with their model right now. I'm going to show you some examples of what they're doing. It's funny, I'm leaving here, going on vacation for a week. In the middle of my vacation, I have to fly to Baltimore. Sport of lacrosse is going to be putting in an ADM that's 5-on-5 cross field lacrosse, and then a 7-on-7, and then a full field as you get up to U13. So at U9, U11, they're going to look to push cross field 5-on-5 into 7-on-7, because they met with the Canadians who do this in their box system and figured out this is why they're starting to kick our butt in lacrosse. They're doing small-sided games, cross-field stuff, and they've got all the data to prove it. And all the other sports are getting the research and data we have on how you make those systems work, and they're all saying, this is a dumb moment, it's logical. Okay, you don't need to go full field at 8 years old because it's just too big. It's not what they call developmentally appropriate. And we have all the scientific data to back it up that the body can't handle it. So that was some of the information we found in the research, and they've got a bunch of suggestions on how to, how everybody can adjust. And one of the big things they suggested was that all national governing bodies commit to annual goals based on participation. Also, the Olympic Committee needs to push our ADM model. Okay, we have a full ADM model I'll show you in a minute. You'll notice that the logo looks very similar to USA Hockey's, because USA Hockey let us use their model, or let us use their logo. So that was what they suggested. Everybody's got to get on board with this, because all of the pediatricians, all the athletic trainers see that this is really the way to go with youth development. All right. Train all coaches. You got to have trained coaches, and these are the key areas that you need coaches trained in at the lower levels. Respect, positive role model, consistent communication, knowledge of sport, someone who listens. We're doing research now at the Olympic Committee with Johns Hopkins University on the neuroscience of learning of our athletes, and what we found is that every one of these things is in the neuroscience. If the kids don't have a positive emotional culture, if they don't have a good physical environment, and if you don't actually put them in a place where you're clear as a communicator, where you're concise, where they respect you, if you don't have that, they're not going to learn as efficiently as they could. Many of us used to coach get fear out of our kids to get them to respect us. You don't need to do that anymore. Kids want to respect you. They want to know who you are. And we've got the neuroscience now that's backing that up around the positive emotional culture you put in your practices. So we got to train our coaches better in those areas, and we're trying to pull the science out to back up the next steps. And they give you some suggestions of how to train your coaches the best way. High schools, it's really connecting your athletes with your youth programs so that the athletes themselves can buy into the program and can start being those junior coaches and help with positive role modeling, bridge those cultural and age gaps and things like that. And there's a couple others you can take a look at. And then the last one was really prevention, safety. A lot of our issues, or a lot of our changes in our sport culture over the past 7 to 10 years have been around safety, concussions, just the local news, so we react to it. So we don't want to have parks open late at night. We have our schools locked up. You can't use most school facilities nowadays in certain areas. They're all locked up. You have to have a key to get into it, so there's no free play because we're afraid of anything bad happening. Liability insurances have kind of ruined that free play opportunity, and it's all because we're afraid of safety. We don't want something bad to happen, and we don't want to get sued. So when it comes to emphasizing prevention, so if we make our sports more safe, we teach our kids and our coaches how to make them more safe, we might be able to start to relax a little bit and be able to allow that free play to come in. So let's make sure CPR or our basics are out there and every coach has it. Let's make sure that we know about physical conditioning. Let's make sure we know about concussion management. All right, so let's make it safer, and that's going to allow our liability insurances and everybody else to let us play a little bit more on things. So that's really the report. If you dive through that thing, you'll see the research. If you go to their website, go to the Aspen Institute, or just type Project Play into the web service, you'll find it. They have a whole entire website dedicated to it. That's the info. There's more research on there that backs all this up deeper and deeper. So now let me tell you about the call for leadership. All right? So they did the report that you have there, which came from Tom Ferry of ESPN, who led it. All of our groups were a big part of it. And now they've kind of left it up to all of us to act and make some cool things happen. So that's where it stopped. Groups like ourselves, the Olympic Committee, grabbed a whole bunch of our governing bodies and said we need to do something. Because no one was really looking to lead the next step. It's such a big endeavor. Nike, they've got the design-to-move.org, which I showed you the video from, and they're like, hey, we're trying to sell more t-shirts. We need somebody else to lead. The President's Council on Fitness, Partnership for Healthy America, the Clinton Health Matters Group, everybody's like, somebody's got to act, how do we lead? So, not just the Olympic Committee, but many of the groups that were in that room started to do their small part. This has been our small part, and this is why we jumped up to lead. Our small part is our ADM program. Why we decided to do it is for this. These are literally what we came out of some hardcore meetings at the Olympic Committee on. If we don't do something about this, we're going to have less athletes at the top to choose from. Makes sense. Our NGBs are going to lose membership and money. Okay? Our sport organizations who try to organize and identify the best of the best, as well as get youth programming the best it could be, they're going to lose membership because less kids are going to be playing. And that's going to mean less money. Because their clubs are going to lose less money and people are going to stop paying their membership dues. It's going to be a bad cycle on the funding side. And the last thing is, we're going to fall behind because our coaches in the U.S. are just not as well trained as in other countries. We don't have as high standards when it comes to getting a coaching certificate in all of our sports. Hockey's very good at this. Tennis has gotten really good at this. Many other sports, lacrosse has come up a long way. But across sports, we're behind. This one on the far side, a really crying volleyball player. That was the big one. That made us say we need to do more in the youth area. We're going to lose medals. And we can't say we didn't see it coming. Okay, so if less kids play, we're going to lose medals. It's going to hurt our league pool in the long run. So let's do something at the youth level. So we looked at launching athlete development concepts. We dove really deep into it, just like hockey did with their ADM model, trying to figure out the science behind it. And all the science pointed to the same thing. You've got to come up with models. You've got to come up with a system that gets more kids involved, keeps them involved, maximizes their potential, and gives them an avenue to be an elite athlete if that's their path, or just participate. We looked at this from a sport performance side of things, not a kumbaya, everybody gets a hug and high five. What we figured out through working with the Canadians, people over in the UK, was you'll win more if you use this system in the long run. It's sacrificing short-term gains at U8, U9 to get long-term gains for your athletes. So we got a whole bunch of people that were already working in this space together. Hockey brought us together with ski and snowboard, who already had a Nordic model, with volleyball, who was working on their LTAD model. And we said, hey, how do we get together and have a consistent message for every parent in the country? How does every parent, when they go, understand that small side is a great way to go to develop their kids? How do they understand that quality training coaching is the way to go? That sampling is a great concept that they really need to utilize, because forcing you to go pro at the age of 9 in a sport isn't going to help you long term to stay healthy. Soccer, we're starting to go down this route, so anybody in here also coaches soccer might have seen this on the left. They haven't done a great job of implementing it, but they have it. They're starting to push it more and more with the help of USU Soccer. They focus on the technical, tactical, physical, and psychosocial of every athlete, and they actually started mandating 3-on-3 soccer, one ball, one player concepts. When you start a little kid use soccer, it's one player, one ball. And that's how they teach you for your first year introducing to the sport. And that's what they want to grow, is that concept. And US Tennis has done a ton in this area. So we all get together, we formed a task force, and we built this. This is a logo I thought you might find familiar. Because the US Olympic Committee and USA Hockey partnered to utilize the logo as kind of that trend moving forward. And this was our concept. That in 2014, through the American Development Model, we really want to help Americans realize their full athletic potential, utilize sport as a path towards an active and healthy lifestyle. So how can you utilize sport to be your healthy and active lifestyle? Like many of us do in here, playing adult hockey, playing pickup leagues, taking up other sports as we get older and are no longer playing professionally. So long-term athlete development concepts are utilized to promote sustained physical activity, participation in sport, Olympic and Paralympic success. Like I said, we really come at this from an elite perspective. We figured out the science, it's true. If you do this kind of stuff and use it, kids will stay in longer, we'll win more medals. Your kids will be more successful. Here's our 5 stages. If you look at the Canadian model, they have more stages. We did less. We really wanted to use the Canadian model in this whole thing, but it was Canadian, and I apologize to any of our friends from up north. That's not American, so that's not acceptable. We wanted to put some flames, the American Eagle, behind the Canadian model, have Journey play every time you came to the website. What? I was told no. I did try that. I think I mentioned that in our phone calls, right? So this is what we came up with. 5-stage model that makes complete total sense. You come up, you discover, learn, and play from 0 to 12. And we made it 0 to 12 with saying, hey, for a generalized model, until age 12, let the kids sports sample, let them play, let them develop. Stage 2, you'll develop and challenge those kids, and that can range from 10 to 16. Stage 3, train and compete, and that might go up to 19 for some kids. In other areas, develop self for high performance in stage 4, and that could be as early as 15, even earlier than that, depending on the sport, or they'll participate, and that's where you get into high school. Our kids are deciding, am I going to be able to go anywhere with this? If not, I just love playing, so I'm going to keep playing in high school and just participate. It doesn't mean I don't want to win. It doesn't mean I don't want to develop and get better. It just means that I might want to be a doctor, or I may not be the best, and JV might be the best for me, or just being a high school bench warmer might be success. Don't cut me. I want to get the benefits out of it. And then the last is thrive and mentor. Now, we've done something a little bit different, though. We're not mandating that every single sport builds this. We're showing them the benefits of building. And what we're saying is, make your own. It doesn't have to comply to ours. So for figure skating, what figure skating we were talking about is, theirs is not going to be up to 12. Theirs is going to be probably 0 to like 8. And then from 8 to 10 is their next stage, and 10 to 12. They're an early specialization sport. And we're like, that's totally fine. Just have the pathway built so your parents and everybody can be educated, know what the pathway is, and also know you're going to need to transfer out of that sport if you don't go pro in it sometime around 15, 16. That's when you get identified that you're just going to be participating for life in this a little earlier. So what do you transfer into? Could it be 15, 16 years old, you're not going to go pro in figure skating? Hey man, great time to pick up a stick and play hockey. Absolutely. You already know how to skate. What a great philosophy. And that's something that they're talking about, building their own model on with things. So these are the key things that we want to have in our model. We want everybody to have universal access and opportunities for athletics. Stop cutting kids early, keep them in longer, and let's see when they hit their growth spurt and they develop. Developmentally appropriate activities. We want you to think developmentally appropriate. We didn't put age appropriate because if we just did age and put you in a box, we did developmentally appropriate. Because you'll notice, some kids, they hit 6 foot a lot earlier than others. Some, like myself, never hit 6 foot. It's just how it goes. So find what's appropriate for those kids and move them and shape them around the model where it's appropriate for their skills, right? Encourage multi-sport participation, because I'll show you the statistics here in a minute from our Olympians that show that they were playing lots of different sports, and it was a good backing to sample and find ways to transfer. Fun and engaging, we showed you all the information that what kids want is fun, so we need to make sure that your models have fun in them, and quality coaching at all levels. If you do that, you keep these core concepts and the coaching programs that are put out there in our day-to-day administration, we'll be good. Your kids will love it. You'll have more kids involved. You'll probably make a lot more money at your rings, and it'll be a success. All right? What we'll get out of it, do we publicly say? Growth in both the general athlete population and the elite athlete population. We say, if you do this, we will win more medals. We will have more elite athletes from us. You will have developed fundamentals that can transfer. So you'll be able, because you'll have agility, balance, coordination, you'll be able to transfer out of hockey into another sport if you don't get a college scholarship or don't get to go play at that level. You can pick up another sport at a college club or something else like that. You might be good. Our bobsledders, none of them bobsled before they graduate college. All of our bobsledders basically get pulled from the NFL Combine and are put on a sled to push. We have to transfer them over with that power. So we got to think that there's skills that we identify that can transfer from one sport to another that are all around agility, balance, coordination. Providing appropriate avenue to fulfill an individual's athletic potential. And this is kind of what I'm going to talk about at the very end of this talk, is we've got to think less about winning and more about development. Development of your athlete is having them hit their potential, not your team winning. If every one of my athletes is hitting their potential, I'm going to kick the crap out of the other team. If we're firing all cylinders as a coach, we're going to absolutely destroy people. We're going to do exactly what we want to do on the win column, man. But it's about that development. And if we lose, but everybody's firing all cylinders and we lost and they just had it, I'm okay with that. John Wooden talks about that. His definition of success is everybody giving 100% effort, going to the max of their potential. And if they do that, nobody can ever be upset. No man can ever look in a mirror and be upset about that effort. So that's what we want to try to have you do, is thinking about your athlete's potential, not about the win column. And then last thing is just create a generation that loves sport. Because those of us that didn't get to go pro, like I played hockey, you know, I was an average goaltender growing up, but wrestling was my sport, and I love lacrosse too. I wasn't going far, but I love hockey. Like I was telling Ken, we got our first kid on the way, which is amazing. My wife and I are super excited. He's already going to be playing hockey. And she says that she will play, we don't know the gender yet, she will play hockey. You know, you want people like me who love the sport so much, had a great time, and we want our kid to be involved in it. And that's the benefit of it. Don't make them hate the sport and not be in it. All right? Here's been the influence since all of us have come together, these first groups. USA Track and Field has come up with a run, jump, throw program that they launched with the support of Hershey Chocolate. That's gone national. They're pushing that into schools to use track and field as an avenue for kids to learn agility, balance, coordination. So this is recently launched as a great program that even us could tap into and use for off-ice training. It's a great 8 to 12 week program that you use running, jumping, skipping, sprinting, all is off-ice training type stuff. So this has come out. USA Wrestling has an LTAD model that will be coming out here probably in the next 2 months once it gets approved that organizes youth wrestling through that pathway. USA Football and US Lacrosse are going to be going nationally in the next 6 months with their programs. And like I said, I'm flying up to Baltimore for my vacation to talk about 5-on-5 cross field and 7-on-7 play before you get into full field with cross, because small-sided games and cross field games just developmentally work at smaller ages. I'll tell you this, USA Football did a research study about 5 years ago about age appropriate. What they figured out is kids are getting injuries at 11 and 12 because you can't be in a three-point stance as much as you are in a game, because you don't have the core strength and the strength in your hips to be constantly in a three-point stance firing up. So they started trying to adjust how kids just come down to hands on hips kind of a stance. Because coming out of that hand down stance really puts a lot of wear and tear into your back and your hips and leads to a lot of hip injuries. So they found research like that, just having them redesign how you look at flag football and use it. And that will be coming out here in the next 6 months. I've seen their model. So it's a hot trend, man. Everybody's getting on board with this stuff because the research is hitting us in the face. We can't deny it. Basketball's been the one that's going to go the most hard on this thing in the next 6 months. So they have a development model that will start, explore, learn, participate. Basketball for life. They're trying to work with the NCAA and the NBA to mandate that you must go through USA Basketball sanctioned events for recruiting. So that way that they can help the recruiting craze to be controlled and have parents not force their kids to be playing full field, 5-on-5 full court basketball too early, and not just go the crazed route of wanting to get a college scholarship when it's way too early. They're trying to figure out how to use their model, 3-on-3 basketball, into 4-on-4, 5-on-5 as a stepping stone to make it more appropriate, and also keep the nets low. Short people like me love that. I was great at basketball when I was 5, in 5th and 6th grade. That net went up, man. Oh, it's so they're going to go crazy with their youth development model. Just came out, and they're partnering with Nike on a lot of it. So I told you a bunch about, the Project Play report. I told you about how all the NGBs and the different sports are going to be doing this, which is great because your kid and those parents that are out there that are playing for you, they'll get consistent messaging from other sports. When they switch over at the younger levels into a track and field for the spring or into a lacrosse or early in soccer, they'll be getting those messages about developmentally appropriate, about how to maximize the potential. There are coaching programs that you might go through if you jump on another one. We'll be pushing this stuff hard because the research is hitting you in the face of it's the right way to do it. Here are the two areas that we need your help at the Olympic Committee. Because like I said, we want to win more medals. We want your kids to come up, kick butt. We want to go ahead and get first, second place at every single Olympics. We're not going to do it unless we get help from everybody in this room and every room that's in sports in these two areas. One is early specialization, the other is the adultification sport. And this is from USOC, they put this out. Our kids being pushed to specialize in sport too early. And you got the mirror of Ronaldo. He wants to be Cristiano Ronaldo. My wife would love it if I was Cristiano Ronaldo and looked in the mirror. That would be awesome. But are we pushing these kids to have to play that way too early? And it's that. Early specialization is really hurting us because kids for that college craze, and they don't know any better. When we did the research for the Project Play report, the kids were telling us they want to have fun. Winning wasn't important. But when we started asking the parents that were with the kids, winning was important. So they're getting influenced by the parent. Winning is everything. And they've got to succeed because they've got to get the scholarship and whatnot. So we've got to go ahead and educate people that sports sampling is going to build a better athlete. By playing stuff in the off season, many of us in the room, I'm sure, probably played 3 sports. It helps you. If you can go ahead and have better balance, it's going to help you when you switch over the ice. I mean, if you can skate, it's going to help you a ton. Ken and I talked before about skiing. He picked up skiing late, and so did I. But we both could skate, and it helped us a ton. And living in Colorado, my God, that's what you do in the winter. But because I can hockey stop, I can stop when I'm scared to death. When my wife is taking me down the Black Diamond to basically laugh at me. So I can hold my own because I did a lot of different things, and it transfers. So have the kids sample, just don't make them one-sport athletes. Now, I'll tell you this, if you literally look at the literature, and I have a workbook, an LTAD workbook that was written by the Canadian group, Dr. Richard Way, Isvan Bali, and the others, that literally explains everything about long-term athlete development. When you get into high school, when you get like 13, 14, it's okay to dwindle it down to 2 sports. It's okay to be a one-sport athlete when you go into high school and that's your thing, or you're a club and you identify, this is my thing. We're not saying that that's bad and never do it. What we're saying is get them into a lot of things, sample it, see what they like, use things as cross-training. And this is what figure skating is going with, that ballet is cross-training, agility is cross-training, a strength coach will help you with cross-training in the off-season. Use that to sample and diversify your training. All right? So educate your parents, educate your athletes on cross-training concepts, using those. And then it's okay as you get up in those chains to specialize later on in life once you're ready for it and your body can handle it. All right? So if you look at the research, it definitely supports that. Here's that research I was talking about, path to excellence. So this is the information now of our Olympians, and this is from 84 to 1998. And these were all of our athletes. I think these were our winter athletes. Yes, these were our winter athletes. So 10, they're playing upwards of 4 sports. 10 to 14, over 3 for sure. 15 to 18, now they're getting into 2, 2.5. And then in college, for those that were Olympians from 1984 to 98, they were definitely playing upwards of 2 sports in college. Or when we asked follow-up questions on this back when they did the research, they're like, yeah, I use it for cross-training. You know, or I did tell my coach that I was jumping out there and playing intramurals, but that's what I was doing. I was training for flag football. That was cool. And this is the Summer Olympians. And we wrote down who was winning medals for us on things. So the blue is those that place 4th through 8th. The red is the medalists. And you see it's the same. So that was up to the 98 games. We redid it. So we asked them, all right, cool. From 98 to 2012, well, didn't go down all that much. 10 years old, everybody's playing 3. 10 to 14, upwards of 3. Then in high school, playing 2. And then 19-year-olds, 1. That's at the college level. That right there, to the T, is long-term athlete development. That is what's suggested everywhere in the literature. Is that you're doing 3 and 4 sports, and then when you get to those higher levels, you're using 2. You eventually specialize, but you're going to use cross-training once you specialize. So having our kids be at 1.2 at the age of 10 to 14, probably a pretty bad idea for most of our sports. And yes, figure skating, early specialization, like gymnastics, yeah, you're going to be focused on one, but again, ballet, agility training, other things, that comes into play as well. So you're going to use those, and that'll keep those numbers up high and have it look at. This was a fun thing. We asked them in the updated report how they value multi-sport play as Olympians. So what we got was 59% of our Olympians that we surveyed said that multi-sport play was very valuable in their development. and then another 28% said it was valuable. And maybe 12% wasn't valuable. He followed up with that 12%. They were all archers, figure skaters, some tennis players that were early sports specialization. That was my sport. I knew it at the age of 9. It had to be for gymnastics, and that's what I did. So majority of them were that. Yes?
Just to get off that, you're saying other sports, I'll use my kid. My kid plays AAA hockey.
Great.
And it's hockey, 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 okay? But he golfs with me. He plays basketball outside by the pool.
Yeah.
But he's not in a structured sport atmosphere with a coach and kids and a team and a league, but he is playing other sports.
That's great. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. It doesn't have to be in that structured environment. Yeah, absolutely. Now, by doing those, here's the best thing. Golfers are great, especially when the kid just avidly golfs. Makes you great at hockey, makes you great at lacrosse. You got good wrist movement. I'll tell you what, it's a fun thing. If he gets out there a couple of times over the month, it's going to help his game. That's cross training for him. It's something fun for him to also invest in. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just so other people don't think I just push my kid because I don't. The problem is that the school doesn't cooperate. He wants to play basketball, but if you miss 2 or 3 practices, you can't play basketball.
Absolutely.
What's the baseball? Oh, you missed 2 or 3 because you're doing hockey. So I'm fighting with the school. That's what their rules are, that you can't participate unless you're making 90% of the practice.
And that's where it's funny, because like I said, I'm a diehard lacrosse coach. Absolutely. My head lacrosse coach in Colorado. Some of his hockey players played for my team. All right? And I didn't get them because they made playoffs till later on. Now, if I went by the letter of the law that you miss a practice or 2 practices, I'll cut you. If I go by the letter of the law, or that you weren't at tryouts because your kids weren't at tryouts, that was okay with me because all the research is showing me it's about the athlete's potential. And I talk to those kids. They're like, no, coach, definitely want to play, but hockey's my priority right now. We're in season, so I'm going to be there. I'll come here, and I had to be okay with it. When I first started coaching, I don't know that I was okay with it. And I had conversations with soccer players who play year-round club and things like that, and I was more tough on it because I was thinking about me, my team's wins, versus thinking about the kids' development. And I'll tell you what, there's a couple of kids, Nick Hahn and Rob Neubauer, that play hockey for Ken, that I got late, my best lacrosse players, because they were my best athletes, could come in, develop faster. They both got all league honors in lacrosse right away, and I'm more than happy with it. That's because I know, and that's where we're going to try to help everybody out, is by getting this information out, and we change the coach's thinking, the school's thinking, the league's thinking, to make sure it's about the athlete's potential, not the wins, losses, kind of adult issues there. So thanks for that point, it's really good. Appreciate it. So, of this, the athlete's value, the Olympians value multi-sport play and cross-training concepts. So again, let's keep them involved in sport. Here's my last thing, which is the adultification. How can we all work together? How can you help us to not overdo sports? And you guys have probably all seen these. Hopefully the sound works on these. I think we're on mute right now. Yeah, I'm muted. Awesome. You guys have all seen these, but these are great. What are you doing?
Then I will see.
That's hide and seek. I found you in 2 seconds. Get out of there. If you want to win this game, you gotta do a lot better than that. Right? Come on. Get in. Awesome. Now that's the way you play the game. So, great example of how we as adults are overdoing it for our kids. And I apologize to Ken because I know USA Hockey is versions of those with USA Hockey at the end of it, and it said Hockey Canada. But there's a whole series of those of how it was a parent education PSA system that went out, just saying, you know, we as adults hold the power. I do a speech on the power of authority for coaches. We do. When you get a whistle, somebody says you're the man, those kids will listen to you. You either use that for good or you use it for evil. So you have that power of authority. And that's where we have the power of authority because we organize the leagues, we organize the practices, we organize the practice structure. We're responsible for getting this information and using it the right way. And we're responsible for the athletes maximizing their potential. So when you see things like that are super funny, dude, they're funny because they're true. All right? We got to find our way to make it more about the development. And you may have seen this one as well, this video, but it's a great one from Stan Van Gundy when he was at Miami.
You're important in a lot of ways. First of all, from a basketball sense, for just their skill development and stuff, and that's going to start at a very young age, and it's going to be determined at a very young age. And quite frankly, you know, if you look around, we're failing pretty badly in this country as a whole in teaching people basketball skills. If you all notice it that watch the NBA, because there's a huge difference in just the skill level of the players coming from Europe and what we have here in terms of their ability to pass the ball and shoot the ball. We can't even produce enough people who can do those things here that we got to go across and try to find people who can do them. We're not developing skills here. One of the reasons is, okay, we are much more interested in playing games and winning and losing at a young age than we are in skill development. So I would say this to all of the youth coaches here, even more than the high school coaches, is you have to make a decision if you want to teach the kids that you're coaching how to play basketball, or if you just want to win games, because there's a big difference. I last spring coached both my 12-year-old daughter and my 9-year-old son for 2 months in the YMCA league and had a group of kids. And I got to see every approach, okay? And I would say to you, of the probably 18 teams that I saw just in that limited time, there were maybe 2 or 3 coaches that were really trying to teach skills, and everybody else was just trying to win a game. Leave your best players on the court as long as you can. Play some defense, for God's sakes. It was beyond me. In a 9-year-old league, play some defense, okay, for the entire game. Obviously, don't ever let your biggest kids dribble the ball. Make sure they always give it to a guard, who is usually your son, okay? And so they can run up the court. And then you wonder why at the high school level we got so many kids who can't play, and we never have a 6'5", 6'6", 6'8" kid who can dribble, pass, and shoot, because at the young age, you tell them to go stand under the basket and get the rebound and give it to somebody else. So the first thing I would say to you, you have a decision to make. Do you want to help build basketball players, or do you want to just tell everybody you won your youth league?
So, you can put on mute now. So what all the other sports have figured out is you can win if you develop. You read any of John Wooden's book, okay? One of the greatest coaches ever from UCLA, basketball coach. John Wooden's book is all about development, individual player development. He kept 3x5 note cards on every single player, and after practice would write down little things about them every single day. He'd go back and look at those, reflect on that information. He was about developing them. Developing them into national champions, winning gazillions of national championships. Okay, being the guy that they write books about, the whole 9 yards. It was about development. If you develop, you will win. And other sports have gotten on this bandwagon because all the science has shown us it's true. And I know one of the toughest things for Michigan in hockey is the temptation to play full ice at 8, 10, and whatnot. Because, you know, many of us as coaches, change is scary, man. We want to do it the way we've always done it. But I don't want you to change. I want you to evolve. I want you to innovate. These concepts about small-sided cross-ice uses is the same thing that's influencing tennis to go to cross-court. You'll see here, the red 5 to 8-year-olds are going to go ahead and go cross-court. And then orange, which is 9 and 10 years old, they're not going to use the full court, they're going to use a section of it. And then green, at 11 and up, that's when they start to go full court, but they have a different kind of ball that bounces to a higher height to give you more time to get to it. They changed the racket size. They got all the manufacturers to make smaller rackets and tiered up. They changed the balls. The balls bounce at different heights. Adults who pick up tennis late, like my wife, who was a college field hockey player, she picked up tennis late. She was using the red balls when she first started because it bounced higher, gave her more time to figure the heck out. Then we moved up, and now she's playing with regular full size after getting introduced to the game late and playing for 3 or 4 years. This helps. Everybody's figured out small-sided, cross-sided things. It's not about just touches, but it's about seeing the field and decision-making. That's what the Canadians have started doing with a lot of their sports. They're looking at proficiencies and decision-making. And they found that cross-ice, small-sided, cross-field, box-style programming makes you make decisions faster. Decision-making makes a better elite player. You win more if you can make decisions faster. It's not about going full ice and developing power at 8, 9 years old, or having so much time to make a decision. Screw that, man. Sacrifice 2 years to be a better decision maker and kick everybody's butt in 12. Right? That's what you're going to do. You're going to build a better athlete. Volleyball, same concept. Spin right in their face. So you see at volleyball, they actually will break at 0 to 1 years of skill experience, and then down here it's 0 to 12, so experience versus age. They give you options here. They're going across. They've got 3 courts set up on 1 court. So instead of us going this way, okay, up and over, they're going this way, and they literally give you USA Volleyball tape that you pull on the court. And it's just a line of tape. You got to hit the ball over. So the net's lower, you hit it over the top. Getting more touches, better decision making, balls moving quicker. All right? And then they have different types of balls that they can use. You can use a balloon. They got a program to use a balloon for really little kids. Because again, hey man, we all want to play. It's 4 years old, you know? Like when in soccer, the only one the kids are playing with like 3, barely move. Right? So we got a balloon in there. Then as you go up, they use different parts of the court to get more kids on, and then you go advance, and you get up here, and they're advancing around 15. That's when you're getting to actual full point races at 15. All right? So they've come onto this and figured out, they've worked with Parch Cry, who's the women's volleyball national team coach, all about this. And he used this in his cancer clinics with what he does. Soccer's the best. They figured out how to, in one field, get 8 fields on it and go small-sided, okay? So USU Soccer has branched out with US Soccer, they're doing 3-on-3. And again, they use a lot of that one ball, one player concept. They even do one ball, one player where they've got these little mini fields set up where you've got 3 balls on the field at a time and 3 kids. And they're just kicking balls into the nets. And every time it goes in as a parent, your job is to cheer. That's what they tell you. It's like every time it goes in, just go, yay! And that's what they do. And the kids get excited and they stick in soccer because they have a lot of fun. All right? So they figured out how to go small-sided is what they're doing. So really my point of this whole thing is we need your help. We need your help, 1, to look at the research, 2, to really understand that you're going to get the same message from other sports moving forward because the movement's here, and it's all showing us that we can win more medals, we can be better if we develop our athletes, maximize their potential, and use these concepts. And again, I'm not asking you to change. I'm asking you to evolve, innovate. You're going to find ways that when you're using small-sided curriculum, that you want to do some more breakout stuff. You want to use a bigger part of the ice for certain drills for this reason. This reason makes sense, and you talk to everybody. That's okay. But look at how you build the basis of those athletes and you develop them. All right? Really be the smart one, because again, it's our responsibility as adults to use that info, influence it, and use it to benefit the kids, because we're the ones making the rules. So that's where we need your help. If you saw this movie, Kicking and Screaming, Will Ferrell, or he's the crazy coach, little youth soccer coach, if you haven't seen it, it is well worth a rental fee. Redbox this bad boy. It is awesome. It's hilarious. Your kids can watch it, they'll laugh, and if you coach them, they might look at you in certain parts and be like, yeah, that's you, Dad. Right? So this is where we need your help. Take a look at this stuff. Okay? Get parents to look at it, get coaches, administrators, get your athletes to know about it. We at the Olympic Committee, we're holding an ADM summit with just our governing bodies at the University of Delaware in August, where we're all going to get together and try to build some generalized resources that every one of you as a coach could give to an athlete, could give to a parent, could give to an administrator to get them to understand some more of these concepts. Schools are the big ones, okay? Because most ADs are saying, tell me why I should invest in coach development. Tell me why we should do this. Why should we build a separate court or separate thing here just for training? You can put spray paint lines on and make it smaller sided. Tell me why, and when you give them a bunch of research from the Olympic Committee and governing bodies, they say, oh, okay, we'll build it. So those are kind of the things. But overall, that's what I got for you. My main goal was to let you know about the Project Flavor Report, the research they've done, how it's really motivated us at the top to move on it, how we bonded together with the governing bodies to really push the ADM forward, and we'll continue doing that. Let you know that everybody else is on board because the research that we're looking at really shows it, and then really ask you guys to take a hard look at how really specialization and how we act as adults really influences that and help us out to really maximize the potential of our athletes. So I thank you guys. There's a good resource that if you guys ever want it, if you're really into this stuff or you want to be the kind of like prove me right kind of a thing, give me the real science behind it. There's an amazing textbook that's out there. That's an easy read, believe it or not. Just real simple, long-term athlete development. It's sold by Human Kinetics, Bali Way, kids. This really hits the highlights, talks about a lot of the good information, tells you that you don't have to just be You know, that it's okay to tailor yourself into one sport later on in life. It gives you a lot of the background of it. So that's definitely a resource to look into. And if anybody wants a copy of my presentation or wants to contact me, ask questions, I'm an open book. That's my real email address. I will respond to it. It might take me a couple days because I'm going on vacation right after this. But seriously, shoot me a line. I'm happy to either get you research, get you information, answer questions you have, or if you're like, I'm still not sold on X, Y, Z, is there something you could give me that proves this? We do that all the time. Yeah? Because again, I'm not asking you to change, I'm just asking you to evolve, and evolution really takes you diving into it and find ways that you can get comfortable with it. So, yeah, I'll take questions now.
Yeah, this isn't a question, it's just a point. I read in the Toronto, or saw on the internet an article from the Toronto Star that the best coach in the world, best hockey coach in the world, like that, has got to be the highest paid, right? So, all the NHL teams are having their development camps now, no 5-on-5 in Toronto. 3-on-3 cross ice, that's it. No 5-on-5.
Seriously, it's funny, I got to give a presentation with Richard Way, who wrote that book there, for USC and snowboard up in Utah. And I was talking to Richard, and I was like, hey, so what are you guys working on? Because the Canadians do this really well as a social movement, but they're envious of us because we're looking at it from a sport development movement. We're looking to develop better athletes using the concepts. They look at it from a happy, healthier Canada, okay? Less obesity. So they're like, oh, I really wish we would have done it that way because we're all sports guys. That would have been great. They've taken theirs, it's gone on a social movement. But the big thing he was telling me is they're looking at proficiencies and decision making. So 3-on-3, small-sided, going really quick, got to make faster decisions. And if you make faster decisions, that's how you beat a goalie and move post to post like that. You know, you got to make those quick decisions. So it's a great comment. And I've seen it a lot. They did it at our national team tryouts for lacrosse at U19. They did small-sided stuff. Everything is, we have a 3-on-2 drill that's called West Henny that's done until you're blue in it, you know. And they did that. So one, they could see who can make quick decisions, and two, who had the dexterity to move the ball at an Olympic or a high level. So, good stuff. Any questions from you all? Comments? Things like that? Seriously, if you have them, shoot me a line. Chris.Snyder@USOC.org. I'm seriously happy to answer any of your questions that you have. Thank you guys for having me so much. I really enjoyed my time here. And I've met so many awesome people. And like, guys, just keep up the great work. Seriously, if you keep developing them, maximizing the potential, you're going to kick butt. You guys will reap the benefits of it. You know, a lot of kids that love you lately. So thank you for everything you guys do. Thanks so much for having me.